That, ladies and gentlemen, is what future AMGs will sound like, and it has started in India with this, the Mercedes-AMG EQS 53 4MATIC Plus. Now, first things first, an electric AMG. Well, what do you expect? For one, straight line performance, and that this thing has got covered. I'll just give you a quick example. We are in comfort right now. I'll just change to sport. You know what? I'll just change to Sport Plus. All right, you can hear the spaceship now, and oh boy. Just when you thought AMG is going sane, they are being quiet, they are being, sophisticated, they go and do this. Yes, it is a mimic, the sound comes from the speakers, I know, I agree. But they've still managed to retain that insanity. Of course you miss the engine, of course you miss the burbling V8, you miss the pops and bangs, and that is something you just have to live with, you can't do anything about it. Let's stop groaning about it and accept it. Okay, it's a thing of the past. Electric is the future. Everyone's doing it. Porsche became electric, everyone threw a fit. Oh, Taycan can never be as the same as the 911, and yes, it can't. And in the same way, this can never feel like an E63S because it won't have that mad exhaust screaming away. But in terms of sheer thrill, in terms of that dynamism, in terms of just giving you a shock, let's do it again. Oh my God. All right, time to be sensible. Let's just shut it a bit. Comfort. And you can see how the exhaust. See, I'm just used to saying exhaust when you have this AMG steering in my hand. That synthesized sound is shut up in comfort, but of course you can choose to have it all the time in comfort, in individual, whatever mode you're in. That's not a problem. But the big one is what powers this thing.
107.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack powering two motors that give it 761 horsepower.
And the torque, ready for it? 1020 Nm. 1020 Nm. I mean, this is more than hypercars. The performance is absolutely brutal. I mean, the figures are incredible. 0 to 100, 3.4 seconds. Top speed, 250 kph.
The savage performance is the result of the Dynamic Plus package that gives the EQS the extra power and performance. It also has AMG specific bits like the race start and even onboard telemetry measurement. However, one bit where you need to be wary is while driving it on a challenging section of road.
India is a country of SUVs, and when you get on a bad road, this thing will start showing. When you have those speed breakers, when you have the bad sections, the broken patches, the cuts coming through, that is when this thing will struggle a little bit. But for that, you have the lift function. The car raises up from the ground, and it does give you some crucial millimeters as well.
Fettling the first all-electric AMG's chassis was a daunting task for Mercedes-Benz engineers who have played with the multi-link air suspension, adjustable damping and anti-roll bars to prioritize comfort over hard-edge sportiness. There's a soft ride to the car which gives it a plushness not seen on other AMGs. Even in Sport Plus mode, the suspension doesn't feel overly firm, and it's only the sharp edges that thunk through.
Now all that colossal power and torque is very well in straights, this thing absolutely catapults. But when you show it some corners, that is when things get a little bit challenging because this is a big car.
What is missing though is feedback from the numb steering, which has a bit of a dead zone around the straight ahead position. Still, the EQS 53 drives with enough verve and precision to keep you nicely entertained on your favorite road, and you don't feel its weight around the corners.
But what does help a lot is the rear wheel steering, which is standard on the EQS in India, and it is just superb because for a car this size, it helps so much. Turns the rear wheels in the opposite direction. That means the car rotates around itself, and it just is so much easier. It just doesn't feel like a car that's over 5 meters suddenly.
The rear wheel steering can be angled up to 9 degrees, and once you go above 60 kph, the rear wheels turn in the same direction as the front to offer better cornering.
It's when you get out of those corners, a little nudge on the throttle, Now in isolation, the handling is not really a big problem. You've got drive modes, you've got the 4MATIC Plus, you've got rear wheel steering.
But in comparison to the Porsche Taycan or the Audi RS e-tron, it does feel a bit bulky. The default torque split is biased to the front wheels, and so it's a bit understeery and doesn't have that rear wheel drive adjustability of the ICE AMGs, and nor is the handling anywhere near as engaging or entertaining.
Now while I do know this is an AMG and performance numbers are at the core of it, it still is an electric car, which means range is something you ought to know.
On a full charge, Mercedes claims a range of 580 kilometers, and the realistic number hovers around the 480 to 500 kilometer mark.
Which, if you ask me, is plenty, because I don't see any reason to complain about a 500 odd kilometer range. It's a lot to have fun. And if you're worried about recharging times, that's not too bad either, because the EQS comes with a host of recharging options. The 11 kilowatt AC charger charges the EQS 53 in 11 hours 45 minutes, an optional 22 kilowatt AC charger that takes 5 hours 45 minutes, and DC charging from 0 to 80% on 50 kilowatt and 300 kilowatt takes 95 minutes and 28 minutes respectively. But what you'll be ending up using the most are these two paddles right here, the Recuperation. Now it gets 3 modes between no recuperation, normal recuperation, and strong recuperation. Whoa, okay. Which is like dropping an anchor, because this thing absolutely hurls right down. Strong recuperation is only to be used when you are sort of in crawling traffic, cumbersome, because it can go as low as 5 kilometers an hour and keep trudging along. Normal recuperation is something you'll have on for the most part, and it works quite nice. The brake feel is very natural. You don't feel that wooden artificial feeling, and when you brake hard, you get the full amount of regen as well.
There are also ADAS features on offer.
Active lane keep assist, active braking, you get adaptive cruise control, and while all those things are very, very good and very helpful, in India, with the traffic conditions that we have, you need to be a bit careful.
But all the exciting performance aside, this thing looks the part too, on the outside and on the inside.
You can tell that I make it look easy. It's a cheat code. It's a free throw. If it's so illegal.
Well, who would have thought of that, huh? An AMG with a green number plate. But to be honest, if you ignore the number plate, it is an AMG, all right. You've got these massive air domes on the side. You've got that big Pan Americana grille. Well, it's obviously closed off. It's not a grille, but it does resemble their bigger AMGs or the traditional AMGs in that sense. The big Mercedes logo that hides away a lot of LiDAR sensors and tech stuff like that. You've got the digital LED headlamps with this lovely LED light bar that stretches end to end. And it is a sharp front end, no doubt about that. There's no frunk as such. The bonnet doesn't open up, so you can't really see the internals. And what that means is that this thing is absolutely slippery through the air. Of course, done in the interest of better efficiency and better performance. Over to the side, what you notice is how long this car is. It measures over 5 meters, wheelbase of over 3 meters long, and it just has that nice cap forward design. Almost looks like a shark, especially in this shade of paint. But of course, the other things are the wheels, 21 inches, and look so good. You get the red brake calipers as well that add a bit of sportiness. And if you look closely, what's wrapped around the wheels are Michelin Pilot Sport EV tires. They are not just some performance tires slapped on. These things have been specifically developed for an EV, which means better heat dissipation and less road noise, because that's what you hear a lot since there is no engine. And towards the end, you got the charging socket as well, just on one side, and it is at the back, which means you'll have to reverse in most charging stations. At the back, nothing too dramatic. You get a fixed spoiler, no aero stuff here, so it won't really move around, but it serves the purpose. And you get this nice long LED light bar as well, looks quite nice, and it is the funkiest part on the back. Other stuff is the badging, and to be honest, this badge without anything down here is still gonna take some time to digest, because an AMG badge with no exhaust, that's gonna take some time.
The interior though has more to impress than the exterior.
Now, things inside the EQS 53 are absolutely dramatic because of this one piece of glass that Mercedes called the hyper screen. It is essentially 3 different screens, but it is single piece, so it looks absolutely fantastic. The amount of drama and theater in here is just phenomenal, and it will induce gasps every time someone looks at it. The other thing is the ambient lighting. Now in daylight it doesn't shine as much, but when it's dark it absolutely comes into its own and just bathes the whole cabin into hues of green and blue. Really very special indeed. Of course, you have the screen, which is the main screen right here. The MBUX is all in here. It is absolutely crammed with features and tech, and everything is at the tip of your hand because there's not a single button or a switch here. You have some shortcut keys here for your charging, camera, and even the drive mode. But apart from that, everything is in there. So you either give it voice commands or you pull over to the side and fiddle through the menu.
What is truly impressive is the crispness of the graphics, the clarity of the camera, and the speed of operation with minimal latency.
The passenger also gets his own screen for media and stuff like that. And of course, you have the digital instrument cluster that is incredibly customizable. So much information packed in here that it is absolutely funny, really. Then you have the steering. Now this, because it's an AMG, has the sporty AMG steering. Chunky, flat bottom, wrapped in leather, and it is really sporty as well. And you got the mode shifter right here along with the exhaust sound and some other shortcuts as well. Seats, again, very comfortable. You'd think this being an AMG, you know, these would be really hard and sporty, and they are quite supportive. You also have massaging, you can adjust the bolsters and a lot of stuff that you can do with the seats. But overall, the comfort is very much there. Cushioning is all very good. You've got ventilation, you've got heated functions, and of course you can adjust it through this toggle switch right here, which isn't the best in terms of feel. I preferred Merc's old layout where the switches physically moved, but that's alright, you know, it's a small little niggle, not a big problem. Panoramic sunroof, it's a dual pane panoramic sunroof, brings in a lot of light, and overall the sense of luxury in here is absolutely phenomenal. Even though it's an AMG, you expect a bit of sportiness, you know, not a lot of red. In fact, there's nothing red in here, but you get this carbon fiber, you get some sporty bits in the sense of this nice Alcantara, and overall it is a sporty car at the end of the day. But since this is an EQS, there is a lot of emphasis on that S as well, and the back seat is also something that a lot of owners would like to be in. Now in the back seat of the EQS, the one thing you won't really struggle for is the amount of room. Thanks to this over 3 meter wheelbase, you have plenty of legroom, plenty of room to stretch, enough headroom as well, and the overall width of the cabin is nice and wide. What's also nice is a nice flat floor, although this seat is not really suitable for the middle passenger, so it's best to put in the armrest and make this a 4-seater. Now when this comes down, you have your individual tablet right here, again with the MBUX, which means you can control a lot of stuff, and it is again quite handy, quite intuitive. If you want it in your hand, just press this switch and out it comes. You can now individually control everything, or it can also double up as a normal Android tablet, so that's quite a nice touch. And in terms of comfort, well, to be honest, even though it's an EQS, there's not a lot of S in here in the sense of the seat comfort. You know, the squabs aren't that great, and recline only is possible to a certain angle, and that's pretty much it. You're seated high up slightly, you don't have blinds to cocoon you from the outside world, but overall it's not a bad place. Space, like I said, is plenty, and for someone my height, it's not going to be a problem at all. But like I said, this is an AMG. This seat is the one you are always going to be in. Alright, you know what? Time for some reality check. To be honest, this EQS 53 is a lot of fun. I won't deny that. Acceleration is incredible and the sound is quite fun as well. But the bigger problem with the EQS 53 is the price. At 2.45 crore, it is playing with the Taycan Turbo S, and that car is a mighty supercar.
The EQS is also 88 lakh rupees more than an S-Class, and that's a steep ask. However, if you're looking for the ultimate electric thrills in a car that's equally civilized and supremely comfortable, there's nothing to beat Mercedes' electric AMG. But we just can't help but think that it might be better to wait for the standard EQS 580, which is quick enough and likely to cost a whopping 60 lakh rupee less. What you would get for the same money is the best EV in the market, but with a GLC thrown in.